What's up, everyone? I finished The Wandering Inn Volume 1 by Pirateaba earlier this week, and guys, I'm not going to be around the bush. I really liked it. In case you've never heard of The Wandering Inn, it is a web novel that's been going on since either 2015 or 2016, and it is currently the longest fantasy series by word count and still going. It sits at, I think, upwards of 13 million words, and the author is not yet done. This author, who is anonymous, by the way, just for future reference, somehow has put out 13 million words, and yet continues to put out like 10,000 word chapters every other week. And when you hear that as a fantasy reader, or at least when I heard that, an alarm bell goes off in my brain, because I generally just don't trust web novels, if I'm going to be honest. I've never really read a web novel that I enjoyed. Also, when something is this long, you presume it's not going to be well edited or well written. You just presume it's kind of going to be written to just be written, and the people who like this are people who are deranged and they have like no spare time to themselves, because again, 13 million words, that's a lot of words. For reference, Wheel of Time, very long fantasy series, is 4 million words, 4.5 million words on a good day, and yet The Wandering Inn is longer than that. And most people, when they look at the Wheel of Time, they say, that could be cut. So going into this, I fully expected, that I was going to listen or read a web novel that was poorly edited, poorly thought out, poorly paced, terrible characters. I had a lot of biases going in, not gonna lie, because this is a slice of life epic lit RPG fantasy, and those things in my brain do not work together. You can be a lit RPG fantasy story. Dungeon Crawler Carl, great series. You can be an epic fantasy. Malazan, Wheel Time, great series. You can be cozy slice of life fantasy. That's not my thing, but you can be that and be exceptional at it. But those things together, they shouldn't jive. They should not work together. They should not have any sort of chemistry. And yet, I tell you, it works. Somehow, this, at least so far as I've read, works altogether. I'm gonna be honest, guys, I expected that going into a series where you follow a main character who is an innkeeper to be incredibly dull and boring. I expected to hate this. I expected to not finish this and report on my first DNF of the year. But I'm actually here to tell you that this was really good. And if the premise interests you, I asked you to give it a shot, because this could be a generational series if it continues to be as good as Volume 1 was. So, what did I like about it? Almost everything, actually. The action, I thought, was really well done when it happened. This is not an action-heavy book, but action does occur, and when it occurs, it is very well described. Now, it's not going to be like Joe Abercrombie level of, incredible action sequences, or Malazan where it's going to like blow your top off and you're going to be like, holy crap, what just happened? Like, it's nothing that crazy, but it is very well written. There are sequences where there are people going through dungeons and killing monsters and stuff like that, and it's really well handled. There's also going to be moments that are much slower and much more character focused and much more dialogue focused, and focusing on just being a person and living in a world that is completely new to them, because the two main characters have been transported from Earth to this crazy new fantasy world where they don't understand the rules, and there's this leveling system and it doesn't make any sense to them. And yet somehow over the course of this book, you're just like, oh, I love this. I just adore this because the world building is excellent. Just gonna be honest, guys. The parts of the world that we get to see, that we even get hinted at, is really well done because this has everything. I mean, Pirateaba did not hold back when it came to creating this world. It's got liches, it's got dragons, it's got talking lizard folk, it's got talking ant folk, it's got goblins, it's got drakes, like the descendants of dragons, it's got skeleton people, it's got crazy new monsters that are completely original, and it's got everything in between. It's just incredible because this feels like someone who like grew up reading or playing D&D and was really into MMOs and Skyrim, and they somehow combined all of those like niche nerdy interests together and wrote a fantasy series and built all these elements of like different fantasy ideas, from crazy world building to slow slice of life to some even horror elements, and just like lit RPG skill points and stuff like that, and threw it in a blender and turn it on, and like you would think that would make a disgusting smoothie, but it was delightful. I can't exactly express what it is about this that I personally enjoyed so much, but it was like the ultimate combination of everything I enjoy in fantasy and then some. Because, I like those slow, nice, sit back, relax, sit in and in character moments that you kind of get from something like The Wheel of Time, right? Where you have characters who, in their downtime, they're dicking around or whatever. And then I like the lit RPG stuff. I'm a huge gamer. I grew up playing Skyrim. I grew up playing, a ton of RPGs as a kid. That's my jam. And then there's stuff like, the adventuring and the epic fantasy that you traditionally would kind of expect from something like this, or from fantasy. And I love that too because, I'm a huge fan of Malazan. I'm a huge fan of, stories like that. And then there's more. And then there's even more because you get hints of this world building and how long this world's been around, and the breadth of history that there is, and the breadth of culture. And, you only spend time on one continent this entire book. And the amount of variety in not only just like actual places that there is, but people and culture and the kind of just general information that you have access to and that Pirateaba begins to unravel before your very eyes is incredible. I mean, this takes the crazy concept of put it in there, write about it, fantasy elements that come from Malazan, with the nicer, slower moments of like sitting in an inn and, gambling, or in this case, playing chess with a friend from like The Wheel of Time. And then those like more sincere, just character moments where you get emotionally attached and you care about what these characters are doing from, any fantasy series, honestly. And then you get, stuff where, they're dealing with trauma, and, they're dealing with maybe some mental health issues from stuff like Stormlight. And then there's even more. And somehow it just all comes together in this beautiful presentation, unlike anything I've ever read. It's great. The Wandering Inn Volume 1 is great. That's all I got. Yeah, you should read it. Give it a chance. Honestly, just give it a chance. It's free on their website. Just look up The Wandering Inn. I'm going to give it an 8.8 out of 10. I've run out of time, but this it's so good. Just read it.